resolution regarding public comment for this meeting, and also strike on the back, resolution allowing circuit clerk to reinstate part-time position. Motion to put that on. Do we have a second?
Yes.
Any comment? All in favor of approve it, give them say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. We have a motion to put the August 13th board minutes on the floor, please. Morris? Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion on that? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That carried. I'm not aware of any communications at this time. Comments from the floor, please.
Joanne Fetzner.
And we're still observing our 3-minute comment time.
Oh, okay. I think I should be okay. Good evening.
Evening.
I am presenting this to you, the full county board, because I really don't know who to address my concerns to, and ultimately you are the ones to make the final decisions. I am not really sure how to approach this issue, but I feel this needs to be addressed. At a zoning meeting recently, when changes were being made to the wind ordinance, the question was asked by one of the committee members as to which ordinance was being looked at. At the time, they had two in front of them. It was stated a mistake was made. They had the one from the wind company, so just set that one aside. I honestly at the time didn't think to ask why would the wind company be giving this committee an ordinance? Foolish me. I thought the committee was reviewing an ordinance Ford County drew up. Guess I was wrong. I understand the ordinance that you are working off of is years old and needs revisions, obviously with influx of the wind farms popping up all over the countryside. And I also understand the wind companies have had some input in the conception and present revisions of your Ford County ordinance, going so far as to draw up and present this commission their ordinance. I assume that by being given this wind company ordinance that it would cut down on some work for the committee members, and I get that. But you do realize, I am sure, that their ordinance was written for the wind companies by the wind companies. To me, it's a no-brainer that obviously everything would be slanted in their favor. After all, they were giving you the wind company ordinance. They have been around the block a few times, as the saying goes, they know all the angles. I understand other counties had ordinances that could have been reviewed. Were any of these even looked at recently? I would think counties that surround us and even neighboring states would have a lot of information and guidelines that would be of value. Anyone dealing with the wind companies seem to be willing to provide information. All avenues need to be researched. With these turbines being 650 feet tall, actually the first in the state and possibly, I understand, in this county, to me there are a lot of unknowns that should be looked at very carefully. We don't even know the risks involved, like the distance for safety zones, ice and blade throws, and what about the health issues? The numbers we have are all associated with the shorter turbines, and look at all the safety and health risks that those present. The wind companies are asking for shorter setbacks and larger turbines. This certainly doesn't sound right and certainly is not safe. Ladies and gentlemen, what are we getting ourselves into? It seems to me more work needs to be done. As stated, with turbines increasing in size and in numbers, and safety and health issues coming more and more to the forefront, I feel these committees need to slow down and look at all the factors. Do not make your decisions in a haste. We will be impacted with these turbines for a lifetime. I realize, ladies and gentlemen, the horse is already out of the barn, but I feel in all fairness to yourselves and your residents in Ford County that you need to have your own ordinance written in your own hands, not the wind companies. In all honesty, I think this ordinance should be sent back to the drawing board. As I said, a lot more work still needs to be done. Saying that, I hope and pray you do the right thing while there's still time. Thank you.
Patty Menier. After rethinking some of the information from last week's Planning Commission meeting, several things really bothered me. First of all, where does the setback distance citing come from? I have been able to find no documentation anywhere that states that 1,000 feet or even 1,500 feet is an industry standard. Hold on a bit, just a minute. The wind farms do state that 1,640 feet is the evacuation safety zone. And we all know what evacuation safety, we know what that means. If that's the case, in their own words, then on what universe is any distance closer than 1,640 feet from a property line even rationally considered? That being said, if the evacuation zone is 1,640 feet, the opening negotiations for safety cannot be closer than 1,640 feet from the property line. You cannot get any private property out of the evacuation zone without that standard. Period. It's not possible. From there, you have been provided extensive research relating to ice throws, noise, etc. that also needs to be weeded through. This is a separate issue completely. We're just going to take this one step at a time. Also on that note, the wind farm company said in their own words that these would be the first 650-foot turbines in the United States, which I will admit I did not realize that. Which brought me to the following question. If that's the case, are these numbers that we are working with accurate for the larger turbines? Has that been confirmed? Wouldn't these larger turbines cause greater noise, higher decibel levels, stronger ice throws, and certainly larger evacuation zones? I am no engineer, and I don't sell wind turbines. But I don't think it's necessary to do that to see the obvious. We are all intelligent people here. Let's not be fooled. Let's do our due diligence and find out the answers to these questions and work with accurate numbers to make an educated decision for the residents of Ford County. I do think it's safe to say that we have at least found one unarguable starting point. Thank you, gentlemen.
Anarchy.
Good evening. First, I want to thank all of you, the members of this board, for attending the Planning Commission meeting last Thursday night. I appreciate that you're interested in following the zoning and property rights issue. There were some disturbing things that occurred at that meeting that should have us all really thinking about what's going on here in our county and with this procedure. The Planning Commission members did not know their duties as listed by State of Illinois Counties Code 55-514, nor did they know or follow the Open Meeting Act laws. This is a real problem and a cause for concern. A regional planning commission has no power to review and recommend county ordinances, as such power was withheld from them. Let me say that again. A regional planning commission has no power to review and recommend county ordinances, as such power was withheld from them. According to the statute, however, they do have the authority to develop a comprehensive plan for the region. And this is, I'm just going to read you a little bit from Livingston County's comprehensive plan. A reason that comprehensive planning is so important is that it is carried out by local government, the level of government that directly interacts with citizens most frequently. It is the local government that regulates zoning and land use. Most of the land in Livingston County is privately owned. Although we have a strong tradition of private property rights in this country, we also recognize that there must be limits to the use of an individual piece of property. Locating a heavy industry, a racetrack, or a slaughterhouse in a residential area could damage the quality of life of those living there. Why do comprehensive planning? Comprehensive planning is a process to lay out future land use instead of just letting decisions happen without a direction. Comprehensive planning is a land use tool that allows the county to look at what happened with county development in the past and to visualize as to where we want to be as a county in the future. And I would be happy to give anybody a copy of this. Does this county have a comprehensive plan for growth? If not, this needs to be done immediately. Right now, you are allowing an industry to plan the growth and direction of our county. People that are doing a job here temporarily are planning what this county will look like in 10, 20, and 30 years. In fact, every zoning rule from top down stresses protecting individual properties from encroachment and nuisance. In light of what we now know to be the actual duties of the Planning Commission, I have a few questions. What facts had this group gathered before the meeting Thursday night? What statistics have been figured as to the impact this industry has had and will have on property values, taxes, health, and safety? Have they talked with multiple independent sources on noise and shadow flicker? What is the exact number of homes in the area of these proposed turbine facilities?
You got about 30 seconds.
Have they talked to our soil and water people or our conservation people to find out if there are areas that shouldn't be built on? What is the safety data on 650-foot turbines? Did these members attend town board meetings or speak with mayors to see what their thoughts might be? Since we have no plan in place approved by you, the county board, what metric is used to measure how much industry and where to allow it? How can this zoning process move forward at this time without doing this work? It's a very serious planning and zoning issue. It is complicated, and there's a lot to learn before slapping a few things down on paper and collecting a check. By skipping steps and ignoring the law, projects can and will be appealed and tied up in court. Seems a whole lot easier and cheaper to take the time now to do the procedure correctly than to have to redo this later. Thank you.
Cindy Artie.
Before you start, you mentioned the vehicle and lights. Could you repeat that?
There's a black Kia out there that the lights weren't turning off on. Is that anybody down here? Guess not, okay.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. It has been brought to your attention that members of these boards have signed contracts with wind companies. This was mentioned at the Planning Commission. Any member of a board who has a signed active contract with wind companies has a moral conflict of interest. This renders them unable to offer unbiased input on these matters and unable to perform their duties as outlined by law. This could also cause them to be in breach of their contracts. I will read you some language from the contracts that explains why. Owner waives any and all, Owner agrees to support and not object to the wind farm and to use reasonable effort to assist grantees' reasonable requests. That's an Apex Good Neighbor agreement. From a BP contract. Owner shall assist and fully cooperate with grantee obtaining any land use permits, whether located on property and adjacent property or elsewhere. Owner agrees at grantee's request to support such application at any administrative, judicial, or legislative level. These people are bound by contract to support this industry. Because these contracts are confidential, we have no way of knowing if this language is contained in their personal contracts or not. I have yet to find a contract that does not contain this language. Therefore, I'm asking you, the members of this board, to remove leaseholders from the zoning boards if they haven't yet stepped down, and replace them before we move forward. I know that we all look to the state's attorney for his legal opinion, but as a board, I think you should get the actual case law behind this so you can make your own decision on the next steps to take. Don't just take my word for it, do your own research. Additionally, once this zoning ordinance is in place, these members will continue to have the same conflicts on the decisions for future applications because of their contractual obligations. Lastly, it saddens me that I heard multiple comments that belittled the value of the lives of our friends and neighbors in this county at the meeting. Statements like, we should allow this for the good of the majority, and outliers are few and we'll just have to put up with it. Folks, that is socialism. I hope you all recognized it and I hope you all take it seriously. Just which group of people on which board gets to choose who is important and who should just deal with it for the good of many. That's not what this country was founded on. Nowhere in the county's code does it give any of these boards permission to give the use of people's property away to corporations. You have a lot of homework to do and many serious issues to resolve before this should move on. I think you should consider a special meeting prior to the Planning Commission on September 27th to discuss these concerns brought forward to you tonight. Thank you.
John Kraft.
Good evening. I'm just going to talk about one issue. It deals with records destruction. I notice it's on your agenda, and as a person that typically uses public records to write about, I'm hoping that the supervisor of assessments has contacted the local records commission and obtained a certificate of destruction prior to the county board authorizing any destruction, and hopefully that would be in the resolution too. So appreciate it. Thanks.
If I may, that has been done, as well as she's not destroying anything that we don't have other electronic copies of. So everything we're getting rid of, we're still keeping.
So you have, if basically everything's been scanned and,
Yep,
okay,
we're just getting rid of all the paper we can't store anymore.
that makes sense.
Kirk Allen.
Thank you. I attended the Regional Planning Commission and I asked this question: how many can raise their hand and honestly say you've read the powers and duties for the office you hold? Not one person could raise their hand at that meeting and knew what their powers and duties were. I had outlined that to that particular board. All too often, they always do what they always do. New members get their direction from the ones who've been there longer, and life goes on, all while never knowing their real duties. Only one member of the Planning Commission had complied with their Open Meetings Act training. 2 complied after the FOIA request for certificates was issued. A review of the statute for the Planning Commission, as previously outlined, they are a fact-finding entity. It's very specific what their duties are. They have no power to make other recommendations. In fact, the county board is hereby empowered, this is from the statute, by resolution of record to define the boundaries of such region and to create a regional planning commission for the making of a regional plan for such region as so defined. Has anyone read the regional plan? Do you have a regional plan? Does anybody know? If you don't, then the Planning Commission hasn't done what they're supposed to do by law. That's their job. That's what they were created for, nothing else. The power to recommend ordinances to the county board is not provided to the Regional Planning Commission. We know that by reading the county code that only gave the power to a joint regional planning commission, which is multiple counties, and a zoning commission. No such power was given to a regional planning commission. For those that say the law doesn't say they can't recommend, yes it does. You need to read the case law. One in particular is Ashton v. Cook County. Quote, "They come with the principle of law that where the legislator has withheld a power, it is the same as though the exercise of the power was prohibited by law. They were never given the power to review ordinances and make recommendations to this county board." In regards to your wind farm setback issues, the county code specifically points to personal use energy system setback limitations, and it talks about from property lines, not structures on the property. If your setback of a personal use wind turbine is tied to property line, why on earth shouldn't a commercial use turbine have the same limitations? In regards to county code establishment of building or setback lines, it specifically says the powers given by that division shall not be exercised so as to deprive the owner of any existing property of its use or maintenance for the purpose to which it was lawfully devoted. Our landowner should not have to ask for a variance to build on his own property because of a commercial operation of any kind. Our property rights is one of the most sacred in this country, and when you adopt an ordinance that diminishes a person's property rights, you're opening up a legal fight. Thank you for your time.
Dennis Fisher.
Thank you. I got to admit, I came in very late on this whole process. I know you guys have been talking about it for months, and who knows, maybe years, I'm not sure. I was driving over to Bloomington on Friday. It was a rainy day, and west of Gibson City, McLean County, they have a wind farm over there, and to my knowledge, those turbines are 278 feet, 300 feet tall. And I was cruising along on the highway, and I am attracted to every movement in the sky. So these things are a distraction to driving for me. And I noticed that with the rain, the clouds overhanging were hanging very low. I could barely see the generator on the top of these things, and I could not see the fan blades when they went up into the cloud. And I started wondering what might happen, and perhaps you've already addressed this issue, if for whatever reason somebody in a small private plane is cruising along in that rain through those clouds trying to get to somewhere. And we're talking about turbines twice the size of those that are over there. And I can't imagine, I know we don't get too many low-lying rain clouds very often, but it's just that one chance. And I know, you know, I've heard the wind farm people tell us that, you know, the chance of risk is so slight, so minute that it'll never happen. It's Ford County, but I can't help thinking there is a danger to these things. And the one thing that I believe is that in wintertime, there's going to be ice buildup on these blades, and a change in weather, change in the temperature, and those ice throws with these larger ones are going to be much greater, much farther, do much more damage. I did some math on those turbines west of town, and I clocked those blade tips at about 168 miles per hour. And I think at 168 miles per hour, that's a heck of a pitching arm. That's probably going to go quite a distance for that. My concern is the safety of the residents. It's going to continue to be the safety of the residents, and I hope that you, as decision makers, make sure there's a setback distance that's going to provide for that safety. I appreciate your time.
Thank you. Okay, probation report, please.
Evening. Everybody has the report with the numbers. It all look very exciting, just after you've had a chance to look at those. Able to take questions that you might have. Or not.
I asked a quick question too. You're wanting to destroy some records. Can you give us a general nature of what you're wanting to get rid of or get backups? Or?
Typically, we destroy records after 7 years. So it would just be the cyclical.
Yeah, I know you've got information and stuff, so. Okay. Anybody else have any questions? Okay. Thank you.
Good evening, gentlemen. My packet is before you. Any questions? I wanted to direct your attention to the last 2 pages. That is the data that you requested.
On the collections and things you've been working on,
Yes, that's the last. Yes.
How many are still out? How many were originally outstanding, if you could guess, and how many have been collected, if you could guess? If you've got a ballpark number.
I have
Maybe
no, I have
a
no,
couple thousand outstanding maybe, and you've got a few hundred, or?
probably, a couple thousand still out, but they're, keep calling them and so they, are still whittling at them and so,
Can you just be looking forward to appear for jury trial in the near future?
yes, we're having a jury trial in the very near future. If you've got a letter, thank you for serving and, thank you for being happy to do it.
I haven't gotten one, so, okay. Anybody have any questions?
I noticed these are all, 8th month, so this is all last month.
Yes, this is all last month, If you would like a year, I can go back and do that.
No.
But I thought if we did it once a month, you would keep up a little bit more on what we are doing and getting done.
Anybody else? Thank you.
Thank you.
Treasurer, out here. The report is in the packet. If you have any questions, we refer you to give her a call on that. Opportunity for department heads who have submitted written reports to the board.
So I gave you guys some extra paperwork tonight. Amy had said that there were some questions about how we get the EAV and the equalized assessed value and things like that. And this just breaks it down, lets everyone know how we get the assessed value from the county, and then all the exemptions that we take out to get the estimated taxable value. And of course, and I'd given you last month, I gave you a number, and we're still getting in the exemption paperwork. So this is a new that's I highlighted in pink. But this one's new. Did you not get one, Dave?
Yeah, I got one.
Oh, okay. So we're getting there. We have sent out second notices, and so I think we're about to come to the end, at least with senior notices and freezes, hopefully getting those in. As far as I know, we haven't gotten all of the fraternal freeze forms. We're really close. And as far as the camera system, it's been a long haul. We're getting there. I am not sure how the previous supervisor assessments thought that all the information from all the properties got into the computer system, but there was not a plan for that. So CIC and Katie and I came up with a plan, and GIS has been great. And basically we've just been making spreadsheet after spreadsheet of parcel information, depths and widths and subdivisions, and we're almost to the end. I think that everything will be ready to be exported tomorrow. So hopefully Chad from CIC will get up here tomorrow and start that. We are still doing splits. I had a couple people come in this past month, and their splits were supposed to be done last year, one even the year before that. And all I can do is apologize and do them. Again, GIS has been great. I've asked them to rush, and they have. In your first packet, if I can borrow this real quick. This kind of gives you an idea of the new drawing system, what the drawings are, what they previously looked like, and they're not always easy to read. And then what they're going to look like now. In the end, all of the information will be put up here because it will get taken right from the camera system. So I am excited. We're getting there. We'll be going card by card. Of course, that's required for the quad year, which is 2019. But if you have any questions, I didn't make copies, but if anyone, I have the wind energy device valuation and how they're valued and how it's figured. I did not make copies, but if anyone wants them, let me know and I can make copies and put them in your box. Anything for me?
I thought the new drawings looked really nice, and I could read everything.
Thanks, we're getting there. I'm excited about it. I think it's gonna be good.
Anybody got any questions?
Did you put the turbine paperwork with the budget committee?
Oh,
Bring
okay.
that
Yes,
Thursday.
absolutely.
Thank you.
Does GIS help you with the drawings?
No, that's, Katie and I look at each card and we do our best to make sense of them. And, if we can't, then we make copies and, ask that the assessors, or we put it in the box and then ask that the assessors, when they can, go out and view the properties, see if all the buildings are still there, if they are the exact measurements, and then take them off if we're not there, redraw, and then of course we will revalue when the camera system is there. And so no, GIS will, now they are coming tomorrow actually to help with the program that's gonna find things that haven't been valued over the years. Like if someone didn't get a permit or something like that, and they're gonna kinda train us on that tomorrow and install it, kinda implementing that at the same time, so when it rains it pours, but it's a good storm, I feel like in the office right now, it's just a lot of information, but it's not that they're not helping us draw, it's just that it's, so far we
I didn't know
haven't.
if you'd be able to take like snapshots or anything else
We
from
don't-
that for a drawing.
We just don't have that kind of a view, we don't have, we can't get that close, so usually the assessors would have to go out and take pictures. Now, if for some reason we can't get onto a property, then we can, measure from the aerial view, but we like to get out there to get the exact measurements if at all possible.
Anyone else? Okay, thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Any other department heads want to address the board? Not, can we have a motion to approve the department head reports listed? Okay.
One second.
Any comments? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Those are approved. Chairman report, I had a meeting with Community Action, and they did get a grant extension, and they're also working more with weatherization. Had a Illinois Region 6 transportation, and they just talked briefly about the state being kind of slow to pass money through for vehicles. Those are things such as show bus and that affects our area, so that's why I got the report on that. Verbal Committee, Environmental Safety,
There was no meeting.
Finance.
All right, the Finance Committee met this last Thursday to review the general fund bills for the month of August. After review, we recommended that those bills be sent to the full board for approval. I'd like to make a motion for sale.
I'll second.
Okay. Any comments? Okay, Mr. Clark,
Yes.
Mr. Johnson,
Yes.
Mr. Hastings?
Yes.
Mr. May?
Yes.
Mr. McQuinn?
Yes.
Mr. McCall?
Yes.
Mr. Otto?
Yep.
Mr. Nuss?
Yes.
Mr. Langman?
Yes.
And I would say yes. Okay, motion carried. Anything else?
We are having a budget meeting this Thursday, 6 o'clock PM in the small courtroom at the courthouse.
Okay, that it?
That's it.
Okay. Thank you. Highway.
Yeah, we met last Tuesday and went over the bills they presented to us. And the highway committee said that we shouldn't pay them, so I move we pay the highway bill.
Second.
Comments on that?
I have a question,
Yes.
Greg. It has here intergovernmental agreement between townships, Fort County. Holds harmless townships and the county. What does that mean? I know you guys trade equipment and help. Does it hold harmless, the insurance part of it, if someone gets hurt?
Yes. Should somebody get hurt, the insurance for that person would cover them. It wouldn't go against the person you're helping.
Okay.
So our insurance would cover any of our employees that got injured or truck was in an accident helping somebody else. And I checked when I was Sermon, and they were okay with that.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Hastings?
Yes.
Mr. May?
Yes.
Mr. Lindgren?
Yes. Oh, I'm sorry.
I called you. Mr.
Okay.
McQuinn?
Yes.
I got
Okay, you're the one
wrong.
out.
I did it wrong.
Okay.
Call,
Okay, I
Mr.
did it
McCall?
right.
Yes.
Mr. Otto? Bud?
Yes,
Mr. Nuss?
Yes.
Oh, let's see, Mr. Clark?
Yes.
Myself, yes, okay. That's carried. Anything else?
on the overview,
No, on highway.
no,
Insurance and personnel,
Nope, we had nothing.
overview.
I talked to Andy and Amy, and we gotta get the things ready for land,
Farmland.
farmland to get appraiser, get it off again. We're thinking about the first part of November, I don't know. See what we can get stuff put together.
Okay. Anything else? Sheriff,
Sheriff's Committee met last Wednesday, reviewed the bills, so I would recommend approval of the payment of the sheriff's, the housing, coroner, and EMA bills.
you have a second?
Second.
Any questions or discussion on that? Mr. Hastings,
Yes.
Mr. May,
Yes.
Mr. McQuinn,
Yes.
Mr. McCall,
Yes.
Mr. Otto,
Yes,
Mr. Nuss,
Yes.
Mr. Lindgren,
Yes.
Mr. Clark,
Yes.
Mr. Johnson,
Yes.
and I would go yes on that, okay? That is approved,
Nothing more.
okay? We have a motion to approve the committee meeting minutes.
awesome.
Move second. Any discussion on that? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Carried. Special assignments, Mobile Region 8,
No meeting.
Union Affairs,
Nothing I know of.
708, I don't think met. Workforce Investment, coming up sometime.
I'll try to attend.
Public Health?
Okay.
I probably can't.
Yes.
Hello. We are getting ready to start flu shot clinics. It's that time of the year again, so we'll be getting out and about and doing that. We are also in the process of working on a new food ordinance. Starting January 1st, we will have to switch to the 2017 food code. So we are updating our ordinance so that it reflects that food code.
And that's a state mandate type
It
thing?
is a state, yes.
Okay.
The state is trying to make it so that all the counties have very, very similar inspection reports and notices that get put up in food establishments, so that you don't come to Ford County and see our nice little A, B, C, D, F system and go to Champaign County and just see their inspection report with the marks on it. They want everybody to have the same thing. So if you're in Chicago and you go to a food establishment, or you're in Gibson City and you go to a food establishment, you're seeing the same thing. So that is the goal. We'll see how that works, but I think from our standpoint, that's the biggest change that we're gonna see, is we won't have those placards up anymore with the letter grades based on the inspections, so.
We're gonna have to have a listing of everything inspected, or just kind of pass-fail type, or do you know for
There
sure?
will be three possibilities at the end of an inspection. There will be a pass, pass with conditions, or fail.
Skull and crossbones.
Kind of.
Just wonder if I see that, I'm not stopping.
Right? And that's kind of the frustration that a lot of the health inspectors have is, you have, pass with inspections or fail. Well, what is the difference between pass and pass with conditions? Thank you. And, to them, they understand it because it's specific to guidelines and code, but to us, it means absolutely nothing. So they're still talking with the state on it, but I don't think there'll be much of a change in that respect, so.
Lana,
Yes.
if I could.
Yeah.
With the jail food, caloric intake, temperatures, wait times, all that stuff is basically gonna stay the same.
Yeah, it shouldn't really impact you guys at all.
Okay.
There shouldn't be, I'll double check, but I'm pretty sure that you guys shouldn't have much of it.
If there is, let me know, I'll call you and watch you.
Yeah.
We'll give them a heads up.
Yeah, no, you guys should be okay, but I'll just make sure, so.
How about inspections of, say, like churches or other non-for-profit organizations having food-related events? Will that inspection be different or anything?
So, you mentioned a couple different things, so yes and no. Churches, no, we're not changing anything there. Food events, for example, the Fall Harvest Fest, Swine and Dine, food trucks, that will not change. We will continue to do inspections and permit them. We don't have a cupcake law in Ford County, so we're not going out and inspecting those and checking on those kind of things, but, no, we're not gonna raise the church's bake sales, that still doesn't apply, so,
This week.
this week, that's right. Wait till next year, change, right? So, anything else? All right, thank you.
Regional Office of Education, Jake?
Yeah, we had a quarterly county board meeting with the Regional Office of Education on August 27th in Champaign. Talked about a lot of things this time. We talked about their budget for fiscal year 19, they're looking good so far. They are creating the Regional Office of Education is creating a new website and app for their establishment. I would assume it'd be for school districts across Champaign and Fort County. It's more accessible that way. Talked about the ongoing teacher shortage in Illinois. They didn't want to say it's a crisis, but I think it's getting to that point, especially in rural districts. Cook County doesn't have a problem filling teacher slots, from what they were telling me. They pay more, so. The rural school districts are having a tougher time filling those slots, so they're having to rely on substitute teachers, and then they're starting to compete now with your daily rate for being a substitute teacher for different school districts, because there is a shortage, because they have a teacher shortage, so they're trying to figure out some ways to circumvent that, but that is ongoing. The last thing we talked about is school safety. It's a different world today, folks. So we talked about resource officers. I know in Gibson City and Paxton, GCMS and PBL, their cities, police departments act as school resource officers, and in Tri-Point, it is the sheriff's department.
Livingston County.
Livingston County does? Okay.
Yes. I swore 3 deputies in from Livingston County as school resource officers since it's centralized in Cullen, which is Livingston County.
So, that is it's a real thing. Doesn't matter if it's Urbana High School or GCMS Elementary School. Like I said, it's a different time, so. Anyway, those are the quick hits, from that meeting.
Basically look like they're getting the same grants again.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. Nothing to worry about that.
Any other questions? Thank you. 911.
There'll be a meeting Wednesday night at Gibson Fire Department, 7 p.m.
Zoning.
No official meeting.
Right. Sermon?
Just webinar training and teleconferences about, security for internet activity and stuff like that, and other things that we've discussed with the highway.
Okay. Extension?
No meeting.
EMA, LEPC. I know I've been doing a bunch of paperwork. Have you got anything to add to that, Lana? Okay. IT,
Nothing to report?
did you look at that thing I put in the
Yes.
folder? Okay. Any old business? Okay, new business, we've got some agreements and resolutions and things. First, we have an agreement with Soil and Water for 2019. You wanna talk about that a little bit, Chase?
The budget committee, portions appropriates, $5,000 to our North County Soil and Water District. Those folks are happy with that amount. And we are going to, give them the same amount for fiscal year 2019. That's basically the gist of the resolution.
Make a motion on that?
I'll make a motion for.
I'll second it.
Any discussion on that? Oh, I think we're, Mr. May,
Yes.
Mr. McQuinn,
Yes.
Mr. McCall,
Yes.
Mr. Otto,
Yes.
Mr. Nuss,
Yes.
Mr. Lingman,
Yes.
Mr. Clark,
Yes.
Mr. Johnson,
Yes.
and myself. Yes, okay,
I'll vote yes too.
okay. Sorry, I missed you.
It's all right. Thanks, Dan.
Keep them on that track here.
You didn't miss much,
We have resolution for probation to destroy certain records and also assessor's office to destroy certain records. Would anybody like to take those together as one?
Sure, but I have a question.
Okay.
We asked Kim if she had all hers copied, documented electronically, our probation's the same way.
And I'd asked Ellen earlier about, she's got permission to destroy things over 7 years old.
Yeah, technically we only, by statute, we only have to keep them 5 years, and after that we destroy them. We're keeping them longer than statute, and they're destroyed there. They're not the only copies of those records because they're kept in the circuit clerk's office, the state's attorney's office.
Okay, well, that's covered, yeah.
And the circuit clerk is self-proclaimed hoarder, so.
Okay.
Okay, we have a motion.
So moved.
A second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. We have in the packet a resolution for sale of property.
I would like to know what that property is. I don't know why I want to know, but I just know I should.
Whether or not knowing at the present time that they have a property number, you can look it up. Would that be sufficient?
Not really. Is it a residence or old business?
I believe it's the one with the cars. in it.
That's what I thought it would be. That's what I was afraid it was gonna be. Okay.
You wanna see the pictures? I've got
No,
some pictures of the
No,
home.
that's what it is. I'm all in favor of selling.
So you making that a motion then?
Sure, why not?
I'll second that.
Who's second? Okay. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. In the packet, we have a resolution for increasing fees. And that's, various fees from the different departments, the document fees and things. And we'll go with the county clerk, and looks like supervisor of assessments gets some. And there's other fees with that. This was, came about as a state kind of a mandated survey of our fees and being able to prove things, and this is what they have come up with. So if that, we have a motion to put that on the floor. Do we have a second? Any discussion on that?
Yeah, are those fees reflected in Gavel, that program you guys use?
No,
Will they be?
they're, the county clerk's fees, are they your fees too?
I don't have any fees. I don't
Well,
charge
this
for-
is GIS.
Oh. Those, yeah, I mean, if I print off a map, I charge $1, so.
That's what it is.
Okay.
This from,
That's a bellwether out of Bloomington.
yeah.
They, when Amy and my office paid for the survey to be done for predictable fees.
The state tells us what our
That's what I was gonna say.
fees are, and we can't find
Yours,
out more.
yours is set, but these other fees we had to
Right.
basically prove, and it looks like we got an increase, at least on some of them. Any other, Gene?
On the bottom of this, it says additional pages. Current is $2, predictable is 0. Does that mean we cannot charge for additional pages when we have to print them off for people? Or is that just there?
That I couldn't tell you.
Because we used to charge so much per page, because we have to pay so much per page.
You can charge per page as long as it isn't a FOIA request.
Right. Just asking.
Yep. Any other discussion on that? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. We have a need for an executive session. Would anybody like to have a quick recess first? Okay. We'll recess and we'll come back and